The United States, China, Russia and Pakistan are holding talks on the deteriorating security situation in Afghanistan. The Taliban has made rapid advances across the country, and in less than a week, it's captured 9 cities and it's threatening to take more. The Taliban now control over half the country. Now, the areas that are marked in orange, they are under their control, with much of the north falling in just recent days. The blue area shows territory that is still held by the Afghan government. All attention is now on the northern city of Mazar-e-Sharif. President Ashraf Ghani has flown there to rally his security forces, but his visit was immediately overshadowed by the mass surrender of hundreds of soldiers in nearby Kunduz. Violence has escalated since US-led forces began withdrawing from the region. Thousands of civilians have been caught in the crossfire as the Taliban clashes with government forces. As many as 350,000 have been forced to flee their homes. The armed group wants to take over and reimpose their strict interpretation of Islamic law. The UN has warned that war crimes are already being committed.
وضعیت امنیتی فوق العاده از کنترل بیخی خارج است. ما شاهد از دست دادن بسیاری از ولسوالی‌ها چی که حتی ولایات عالی گپ در ولایت رسیده که ولایات از کنترل دولت خارج شده میره و این در هر بخش زندگی ما اثر بسیار منفی گذاشتنده.
اگر میخواهند سیاست شریک شوند از راه مصالحه باید در حکومت شریک شوند، نه از طریق زور، از طریق تفنگ و از طریق حملاتی که باعث ویرانگری هم خود وطن میشه هم ملت میشه.
US President Joe Biden has urged Afghan leaders to fight for their homeland, but says that he doesn't regret the withdrawal of American forces, a process that will be completed by the end of the month.
Afghan leaders have to come together. We lost death and injury, thousands of American personnel. They've got to fight for themselves, fight for their nation. The United States, I'll insist we continue to keep the commitments we made.
Simon Marks joins us from Washington, D.C. for more. Simon, US President Biden making clear his position, but what does it hope to gain, or the US hope to gain out of these talks with Russia, Pakistan and China then?
Well, I think that expectations inevitably here, Steve, have been dampened by the latest events and reports of the Taliban taking control of so many additional cities and towns over the course of the last few hours. But the idea behind this meeting and others that are going to take place in the next few days is, first of all, to try and persuade the Taliban to lay down their weapons and end their military offensive. That appears to be a very low possibility of success in terms of that conversation. But secondly, to urge other countries to warn the Taliban that if they seize power in Afghanistan, there will be a global campaign led by the United States to deny their government international recognition, to treat them as pariahs and Afghanistan as a pariah state. And the eventuality of Kabul and its government falling has been raised here by reports over the last couple of hours that US intelligence agencies are now advising the White House that they believe the Taliban could pose a threat to the Afghan capital within the next 30 to 60 days, with the possibility of the Afghan government collapsing completely within 3 months. So the United States now facing a set of circumstances that President Biden, I think, did not fully anticipate when he authorized that US troop withdrawal, and now preparing to try and deny the Taliban legitimacy, as though that in some way is going to constrain the Taliban's behavior.
Well, Joe Biden has said that he has no regrets over his decision. But as you've laid out, Simon, it does look like, the Afghan government is going to be left to fight this fight on its own.
Well, the United States says that's not the case. I mean, first of all, they point to the fact that the US military is still carrying out airstrikes on some Taliban positions. And secondly, they insist, as President Biden did at the White House yesterday, that the US will live by its commitments to Afghanistan and will continue to provide some kind of military support alongside humanitarian assistance, albeit from that over-the-horizon position that President Biden says US forces will now occupy. But the biggest difficulty the Biden administration faces rhetorically is that while the president says, as he said at the White House yesterday, that the Afghan forces have got to want to fight, it's becoming increasingly apparent that for whatever reasons, they don't want to fight. And so this Taliban advance is continuing unchecked in some parts of Afghanistan. And that raises huge questions for President Biden, who says that on the one hand, the US is going to stand by its commitment and not allow Afghanistan to become a haven for terrorist activity in the future. But on the other hand, who claims that he wants to demonstrate on the world stage that liberal democracies are able to deliver and create international stability at a time when the military withdrawal that he's authorized clearly is sparking a substantial degree of instability in Afghanistan. It's a conundrum for the White House and one that they're going to have to address.
Yes, much uncertainty ahead. Thanks very much. Simon Marks speaking to us from Washington, D.C.